Everyone tells you to trust your instincts, to follow your heart. But if you were abused and neglected as a kid, that is the worst advice ever, and I'll tell you why. Trauma actually damages your instincts, and if you've got PTSD from childhood, believing that you can just trust your gut and do the thing that feels right can be the fastest way to keep making the same major life mistakes over and over again. Jumping into relationships, storming out on important conversations, allowing yourself to hurt other people while you wait for some inner voice to come and tell you to stop. Today I'm going to read you 3 letters from people who find themselves in difficult and unhappy situations and who have followed their gut feeling and are now in need of a better way to evaluate their actions. All right? So first I have a letter from someone I'll call Kathleen. She says, "Dear Anna, I listen to your videos almost daily and they've helped me so much already. For example, I avoided many panic attacks at work because of you, and I'm allowing myself to stand in my strength more than ever. Thank you so much for your important work. I'm also doing therapy, EMDR, and classic talking therapy. Both start to finally show results after years. Boundaries and emotions get to be more than abstract words to me finally. I could always understand what they were logically, but now I really do know and understand. I feel as alive as I have never felt before. I could cry of thankfulness every day. But still, there's one thing that I can't leave behind, and I feel that if I won't let go when it's time, I might hurt myself more with keeping it in my life than by letting it go." All right, so this is all background, and I included it. I didn't edit it out because I felt like it was important to kind of know Kathleen's thinking about this. She goes on to say, "For almost 3 years now, I'm having an affair with a married man. We've known each other for 10 years and have always been friends, and for most of the years, we've also been work colleagues. It started as an emotional affair, and we fought the physical attraction for a very long time. We went on and off because I broke up with him several times. I loved him, and it broke my heart too much he wouldn't change anything about his situation. He reached out again, and although I knew the rush would be followed by a terrible hangover, I let myself snap back to him. I have very patient friends who don't judge me for letting myself go back to him again and again. I always tell them that something is missing to finally make the breakup a sustainable and final choice. I don't trust myself to stay away from him. And so I'm thinking that the pain of staying in the situation is preferable to the terrible pain of breaking up and going back again and again. It costs me so much every time. Also, I want it to be a real and free choice and not just a reaction by just resisting the huge pull I feel toward him. It's also ambivalent. Trust me when I say we do have a real connection and that we do feel real love. He never promised me anything and treats me with great respect. At the same time, for whatever reason, he doesn't feel able to follow up with action on his feelings, and that is the reality I have to face. I feel that I need to let go. I just really don't know how. As I grow my self-worth, I'm suspecting it will be a natural choice at some point anyway. It feels as if by finally feeling and honoring my boundaries, he might end up behind them, and like a time window is closing soon for me and him. But is it really? Maybe I also want to ask you if you think that I can trust myself, that I do need more time, and that it will come to me, like everything else fell into place. Because I tried to force myself so many times and it led me nowhere. My thoughts are always revolving around him like he's still there. I'm just really not sure about anything because this relationship has the weirdest and strongest pull on me like nothing I've ever experienced. I'm just hoping to hear some of your thoughts on this because you've helped me a lot before. Kathleen." Okay, so you know I'm the tough love fairy, Kathleen, and today we're talking about can you trust your gut? And you asked me point blank, do I think you can trust yourself? And I would say no, I don't think you can trust yourself because you've got yourself into a very unhappy and unfulfilling and demoralizing situation. So never fear. I'm not expecting that anybody with CPTSD unhealed can or should trust themselves, and that's my point. Sometimes we need workarounds. Sometimes we need to use objective standards to make decisions about what to do about our lives because that little voice inside isn't going to come. And I hear this, you're like hoping it's going to show up. You're saying, You want this to be a real and free choice, well, to leave. And I want that for you too, but see, it's not coming. It hasn't come yet. You say that as I grow my self-worth, I'm suspecting it will be a natural choice at some point anyway to leave the relationship. So Kathleen, what I want to tell you is your self-worth is way down in the gutter right now. And I don't really see a way for it to get better when you know you're doing something wrong. And you say yourself like something is missing to make this sustainable. You keep thinking like, where's this thing that's going to come in and make it clear that you should go? And I'll tell you what it is. It's a conscience for the other people involved. I'm totally relieved actually to hear that you're thinking of yourself and what's good for you, and that's good. But here's the thing about affairs with married people. They just flat out hurt other people in the worst possible way. They destroy a family, a marriage. This guy may be doing this and participating in this right now, but it's not good for him. Like if you really love somebody, you don't have an affair with them, even if that's what they want, because it hurts them. And most of all, it hurts a wife who I presume is being lied to about this, and you're participating in a lie. This is my tough love for you. Don't participate in lies. If you want to recover from CPTSD and you want to get your self-worth back, abolish all lies, like stop doing it. Now in here you said that you didn't know how, and you do know how. You know exactly how to do this. And because you work together, you may decide to make it easier for yourself by getting a different job. If you feel like you can deal with this, you can, but here's what you do. First, with a very brief communication, you say, I've decided this has to end for the good of everyone concerned, and then you stop all contact with him. You stop all contact with him. No letters, no emails, no texts, no glances, no late night things saying how sad you are, nothing. No longer is this person your emotional support. And I believe you that there's a connection there, an emotional connection, and I believe you that it's a form of love. But the reason this is so unhappy for you is because the actual love you want is the kind of love that's all for you. All for you, your partner, not somebody, not somebody who's going off and sleeping every night and spending holidays and celebrating birthdays with somebody who's not you. Okay? That's not what you actually meant, for what you wanted in life, was to be a secret person, living a secret. So that's not love. If he really loved you, he wouldn't even dream of pulling you into this situation. Yes, people get attracted. Attraction can be so powerful, and even love, forms of love. But when you stay with somebody a long time, you'll start to find about what real love is. And real love is thinking about what's best for another person and being willing to sacrifice certain things that you want in order to do what's best for them. And there is a presumption there that they are also doing that for you. And so that's what makes me sad, is that somewhere there's a wife who, I don't know what she's sacrificing. I mean, we don't know. I don't know anything about her, okay? So I'm sure people will write in and go, well, she's probably a bad person. I have no reason to think that. I have reason to think she, in good faith, is trying to be married and contribute her good positive energy to this man who has a secret life that's been going on for a few years. And how awful that is. How nothing good for any of these three people can really happen because of this terrible situation. So that's it. This is really not about your feelings. There really literally is no happiness for you here, and no good can come of it. And the sooner that you can just be strong and end it, the better. The sooner you can heal. Now, if it were me, I would probably not want to work there anymore. I wouldn't want to see somebody where I had that kind of attachment. But I realize jobs are complicated. I would also get a whole lot of friend support for this. You say your friends are patient, but believe me, when you tell them that you ended it, they're going to celebrate for you. They're going to be happy. They're going to be supportive of you taking some time to heal, and to heal the trauma that would have you having a breadcrumb relationship, because that's what a married person is. You're taking breadcrumbs. And I know when you were a kid, something conditioned you for that. Something taught you how to crap fit, how to put up with crap, how to take something that was like a fraction of what it was supposed to be and try to make it into the whole wonderful world for yourself. You got so good at that you could do that now. And lucky for this guy, there's somebody who will put up with it and keep his life exciting and have some drama for him at work and help him not deal with whatever he's not dealing with. I'm not here to cast judgment on everybody. I'm just going to say this is a familiar triangle that brings misery to all people. It's a known phenomenon. And it's clear from everything you say, this is not going anywhere good. So trusting your gut. Kathleen, you're not there yet. You're not where you can trust your gut. Your heart tells you this is love, that if you just stick it out, some great feeling will come. But your logic tells you that's not good thinking. That's CPTSD talking. And darn that CPTSD, it just tells us to do stuff that just makes CPTSD worse. It's like a virus. It just wants conditions where it can thrive. And we don't want that. We want to have a beautiful life empty of more trauma, where we can have real love, real purpose, real fulfillment. And I want that for you. All right, here's another letter from someone I will call Diane. She says, my grandchildren, 2 girls ages 5 and 7, are my stepdaughter's kids, and I can barely stand to be around them. I have to say I was a little shocked when I read this. I thought it could be just the fact that their mom doesn't raise them with anything close to my values, paired with my resentments toward her. Good insight. The fact is that she's extremely manipulative, in my opinion. My husband cannot see that. Sometimes I feel like it's my husband and his daughter, and I am a peripheral relationship for him. I know this is probably just in my mind, not the reality. We've been together for 26 years and married for 20. That's a long relationship. I want to come back to that phrase in a minute. But Diane says, since watching some of your videos, I'm wondering if the kids, they're good kids by the way, and my stepdaughter are actually triggering me because of my childhood abuse and neglect. And if so, how can I find a way to be better? Avoiding seeing them is not what I want. They feel it when I don't want them around, and that makes me feel so guilty and ashamed. My husband, of course, wants to spend more time with them, but I'm always putting the brakes on because I get so angry about normal kid behavior. Please help. I want to enjoy being with them, and I know it will be a blink of an eye before they're grown. All right. Oh boy, Diane, I'm so glad you wrote. I consider this a family emergency. All right. I really appreciate your honesty to just talk about that you can't stand to be around these good kids, these girls who are just 5 and 7. I mean, they are little. And then also saying that the fact that their mom doesn't raise them with anything close to your values, and you're resentful at her, and she's manipulative in your opinion, and that your husband can't see that, and you often feel that it's the husband and daughter, and that you are like a third wheel, peripheral to their relationship with them. Okay, I'm so proud of you, Diane, that you wrote and that you're seeing this. So this is what I've observed, and I have a blended family too. But step-parents are in a very difficult situation. They need to show up for a family that already exists and somehow find a role in all of it, when the fact is the parents and children have a bond that can't ever be like any other bond. It's not like a marriage, it's not like a step-parent relationship. You have a different relationship to each of those people. They have a different relationship than you, and you can't ever quite be part of that. And I know that's hard. But I call this an emergency because we're talking about, can you trust your gut? And your gut is saying they are triggering you. And here's what I'm going to tell you, because again, this is a tough love episode here. You are triggered. They're not doing anything to you, Diane. They're just being themselves. You are triggered. And the sooner you can just totally just hold that and go, yeah, I'm triggered. And I know you can. I hear it and hear what you're writing. But there's just that little last bit of thought where you feel like they're doing it to you. This is the radical truth. Almost never are other people doing this to us. Your CPTSD is doing this to you. You had this. You have this pain from your past. And it's triggering you. You're seeing perhaps how much he loves them, how much he tolerates, your husband tolerates his daughter's character defects, and he still loves her anyway. Maybe you didn't have that, I'm speculating. And it feels unjust to you. So I'm just gonna be like the voice that calls out to you and says, it was wrong what happened to you. If you were not loved and accepted for who you were, even though you're imperfect, even though you were probably naughty sometimes, self-centered sometimes, manipulative sometimes, we all are, because we were kids, right? And we have a special dynamic with parents. If you were treated badly around those things, that was wrong. So the good part is that your dad loves his daughter and has a relationship with her. That's a good thing. And the reality I'm going to ask you to accept is that you are there as a sort of a helpmeet of your husband. You're his friend. That's like the most important thing that a marriage can be, is a friendship. And what a good friend is somebody who helps the other person do their very best in their life. That's what a good friend does. So for him to have a good relationship with his daughter and his grandchildren is super important to his life. Your job as his best friend is to help him do that, and not to present yourself as a conflict or something that he has to worry about, of like, but what about you? What about you? I'm going to guess that he does have a capacity to love you as a wife and love his daughter as a daughter and his grandchildren all at the same time, and that it takes away nothing from you. That feeling that something's being taken with you, I propose, is an emotional flashback. And if you don't know what that is yet, I just did a video on it recently. But an emotional flashback, it's a concept defined by Pete Walker, who's contributed so much to our understanding of CPTSD. And it's when a very old emotional memory sort of pops up, and it's so old, maybe from before you could even speak, that you don't even know what happened. You don't know you're having a memory. You don't know you're having a flashback. You just feel terrible. And it has certain key signs where it's very hard for you to express what it is. It's hard for you to know like what set it off. And when I read between the lines of what you're seeing them, that this isn't what you want, like you're behaving in a way you don't want, it sounds like a flashback. So I want you to just first totally forgive yourself that you have flashbacks. You had trauma. It's not your fault, Diane. You have flashbacks. And we all have to learn how to stop damaging other people when we're in a flashback. Because you know what? All of us with CPTSD, we get them. We get flashbacks, emotional flashbacks. And, I've talked about mine here. I wake up in a terrible mood where I feel like nobody ever does their part. I have to do everything. And I'm mean to everybody. And the sooner I can catch on and go, oh, I'm in a flashback, that's how you begin to turn it around. I'm in a flashback. And then I know, stop saying things. The stuff I say in a flashback is usually hurtful or agitating to other people and is going to lead to an argument. It's going to lead to strife. So I go and I use my tools to get out of the flashback. And Diane, I promise you, if you can get out of the flashback, you can return to the kitchen table where everybody's hanging out with sweetness and awareness and presence for everybody. Those girls absolutely deserve you happy, not flashing back. So you have them to do this for. I think that one of the big ways that our gut tells us wrong is with CPTSD, and especially because we spent so much time as kids with nobody really caring about us and nobody putting our consideration for what we desperately needed, that we can get a little bit like over into that, over advocating for ourselves. And then we're like too much. We're being like over advocating for ourselves. And it's like, what about me? What about me? And it ends up playing out as selfish and self-centered. That's totally not where it's coming from. It's just coming from this deficit in there. But it doesn't, because there are kids present, we can't really worry about why it happens. We just have to make it stop. And I know you know that. I know you're saying this. And you ask, so how do I make it stop? Please go take my daily practice. It's a free course. I'll put a link to it right below this video. Top line of the description section, you'll see a link to my daily practice course. It's free. And you can learn and try these techniques in less than an hour, where it's a very simple writing and meditation technique to take that intense flashback, the thoughts, the terrible thoughts that are involved in that flashback, and start getting them out of your head and on paper. And sometimes even just the physical act of writing helps you to get out of the flashback and kind of back into present time. And there are just a couple of tools in there when you take that course to learn how to bring yourself back into present time. There's also tips you can use to stay out of an argument, not to argue with your husband. If you are starting to feel that emotional energy come on of the flashback, how to catch it, take yourself out of the room just very nicely and you say, you know what, sorry, I'm having a reaction right now. He knows you have these, and he will really welcome you being open and honest about it. So you say, I'm sorry, at some time when nobody's around, you can tell him, I'm sorry, I have these things called emotional flashbacks, and I learned about them, and I'm working on them, because I really never want to come out and put stress on your relationship with your daughter or your grandchildren, and I want to enjoy those relationships too, and I'm going to do my very best. Don't put it on him. Don't blame your daughter-in-law. Don't blame her. She's just being her. It's not her fault you have flashbacks, okay? And it's not your husband's fault. You might get some support from your husband, you might not. The support might come later after he sees results. And I'm just telling you, that doesn't have to stop you. My husband, who now totally is behind everything I do for CPTSD, for myself and for all of you, he's totally behind me. But when we first started, he was like, what are you saying? You're just making an excuse for your worst behavior. And he wasn't behind me, but I kept going anyway, and I healed anyway. And when I made progress, that was the most convincing thing that I could show him, that I really do have this thing, and I really do have to deal with it. And now he's very supportive, and he can say, I feel like it looks like you're kind of going into that triggered state again. Do you maybe want to go write? Do you want some paper and a pen? I've got some right here. He's got the art of very nicely like, Anna, don't you want to use your tools when you're doing that? And it helps me, and I have the humility to welcome that. So I really encourage you, like, use that in your relationship. Take care of yourself. Acknowledge that you have CPTSD and heal it in yourself and use these tools. And come back and tell us how you did. I consider your situation extremely important, and I want those girls to have you in their lives as a loving person. And when they're a little older someday, maybe you can say, you can acknowledge to them, yeah, I used to have a hard time being a step-grandma. And then I learned, and I'm so glad you're in my life. And I want you to be able to have that talk with them one day when they're old enough. The other thing everybody needs are friends. You need friends who are not your husband, who can be supportive too. People who know that you're working on this, who can support you, so you can call them up and say, all right, I'm really at my wit's end now. The daughter-in-law did this, and I just can't see a way to come back and act nice around it. Have friends in your life who themselves work on changing their lives in a positive direction, who can encourage you. The last thing any of us needs are people who go, oh yeah, daughters-in-law, they're awful. You know, if only they would just go away. You don't want those people. It's not true. You don't want to adopt their negativity. We want positive people who work on themselves, who can go, you can do this, Diane, hang in there, you can do this. Remember, like, she may have her things, but she's on her own path, she's gonna figure out her own solutions. You're gonna work on your solution and show up friendly, because I know that's what you want. So you want friends who can remind you of those things, all right? So please get back to me after a little while. Let me know how you're doing. Write to me at hello@crappychildhoodfairy.com and tell me about that. And seriously, if you haven't done the daily practice, it's right down there in the description section. All right, for anybody watching, there's a way to calm this thing. There's a way to get calmer and to relieve that stress of CPTSD. Okay, I've got one more letter today. This one is kind of different, but also we're looking at, can you trust your own judgment about things? Can you trust your gut instincts? Can you follow your heart about something? So this is a letter from somebody named Carl. There's actually two letters in sequence here. And I'm calling him Carl. I never use people's real name just to keep them safe. And by the way, when people do share their stories and you comment on it, here's what you can do. Encourage them. Those are real people. They're actually going to see the video and they're going to read what you wrote. And if you want to help out and heal your CPTSD by sharing some healing with everybody, give them encouragement. Tell them what you saw that was good and encourage them to keep going. If you give anybody terrible criticism, I'm only going to delete your comment. You know, comments, lots of comments are really good for the algorithm, but they're not good for this community, which you'll notice is a pretty loving place. And we try to keep it that way. So share your love with these people. Give them support, all right? They criticized themselves hard enough, I assure you. They had the courage to write to me. All right, Carl says, my wife likes to accumulate stuff. She decorates the house in ways that suit her in small ways over the years. Eventually, I realized she has hoarding tendencies. And every shelf, table, couch, and space that can be used to store things has been claimed as her personal space. The entire house belongs to her. It was a long road back to containing her clutter to her space. She has a great memory for managing her clutter, says Carl. Her desk is a vertical pile of papers. She ran out of room in the silverware drawer and, unknown to me, put a potato peeler under the organizer tray. When I tried to lift out the tray, I slit my finger so bad I needed to get emergency care. I asked her to please clean up the drawers. She agreed. Months passed, and every time I reminded her, she assured me that she hadn't forgotten and would get to it. I eventually told her I was about to get some boxes to dump the drawers into and begin organizing with or without her. She got the whole job done herself in around 30 minutes. Carl says, I'm starting to understand future faking. and how it's been used against me for decades. She also gaslights. So gaslighting and future faking are catchphrases from narcissism videos. And future faking is telling somebody you're going to do something and not doing it. Gaslighting is making them believe something that's not true, is what Carl says. If this helps, I was raised by an extremely abusive mother. I have weak boundaries. She was raised by alcoholics. I know very little about alcoholism. And I think by she was raised, I think he's talking about his wife. I know very little about alcoholism. Her sister died in her bed, surrounded by whiskey bottles. Okay, and then there was a PS letter, and it went like this. A few years ago, my wife's rheumatoid arthritis disease caused her spine to collapse, nearly resulting in permanent paralysis from the neck down. Okay, Carl, the first letter was like going one place, and when this letter came, it was like, wait a minute. She has a huge debilitating illness. Okay, we might just have to get into the tough love zone here. I love you, Carl, and I know you're working on this, but we got to look at this. All right. Her rheumatoid arthritis almost caused her spine to collapse, nearly resulting in permanent paralysis from the neck down. They replaced several discs with a titanium mesh. She came out of surgery with neuropathy in both arms and required serious caretaking. Neuropathy is pain. I was forced, unprepared, unexpected, unsupported into retirement to help her when she returned home. Okay, that's really hard. I hear you. She's doing really well now, but I believe she became a lot more demanding and dominating ever since rheumatoid arthritis has permanently reduced her mobility. Yeah, I see how that could be frustrating, but I also see how that could be natural for her. It's really difficult for me to say no to someone who's suffering, says Carl. It's no coincidence that my mom was bedridden for years from multiple back surgeries when I was a small kid and treated us like room service. Thank you for sharing this, all right? And I'm reading this in our theme today about can you trust your gut instincts? And Carl, I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff that you're dealing with. You have a very full plate. You're dealing with a lot right now. But one thing I want to take off your plate, your gut instincts, I think, are misguiding you. It is a coincidence that your mom was bedridden for years from multiple back surgeries, and now your wife has rheumatoid arthritis and is debilitated. And the only way that's a coincidence is if she had debilitating rheumatoid arthritis when you met her, and you've been together a long time, right? You've been together 26 years. So if she was just, regular old able-bodied when you met her, there's no coincidence here. It's just a factor sometimes of being with people for a long time and growing old together, is that one person starts to get debilitated first, and it's really hard. But I just kind of want to take off your plate, Carl, that everybody's like conspiring against you. There's like a little bit of that in there. And I know from one other thing that you wrote to me that you feel like that you have weak boundaries, and that you have trouble recovering them. And I don't doubt that. Like, that is so common for us with CPTSD, having weak boundaries. But I also want to say that a boundary is what you're willing to put up with and what you're not willing to put up with. And when you're married to somebody and you plan to stay with them and they have a debilitating condition like this, where there's a lot of uncertainty, it could be progressive, she has mobility problems, she's probably quite exhausted. And also, I looked it up, I'm quoting you here, patients with rheumatoid arthritis are more likely to suffer from anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem with high levels of associated mortality and suicide. The loss of the ability to carry out daily functions owing to rheumatoid arthritis is also associated with the onset of depressive symptoms. So, I'm on the outside, and I think I would be just like you. I would be like, my life, what happened to my life? Now all I'm about is taking care of this person. I thought I was going to get this other stuff. Sometimes life throws you a curveball, and here you are caring for somebody. And I want to tell you right now, this does not have to be some sort of terrible life for you. It's possible to find joy in everything you do. And the way you're going to find joy is by addressing your resentment in this. So this is where your gut instincts are telling you, this is it, it's my boundaries again. She's hoarding because, she doesn't respect me. I have a hoarder relative, and I know that thought, but it's been going on long enough, and I've read about it to know that it probably has nothing to do with respecting or caring about you. It's a compulsion. It's a compulsion that you don't have, I don't have it. Well, how lucky is that? You know, we have our own problems. It's the sort of problem that a person, it's very visible. They wear it on their sleeve. Another thing like that is an eating disorder. Like, you can really see it. You can't hide it. So somebody could have like a terrible temper, you know, and be cruel to animals or something, but nobody would know it unless they happen to see them at this one time. But if you're a hoarder, then people are going to see it. And I know what it's like to walk into a room where a hoarder has been, you know, stacking things up and putting things, and talking to them about it and trying to reason with them about it and say, look, I just don't think you need all these old files and boxes and milk cartons and things. And from what I understand, and it's been consistent with what I've observed, that there's, you know, it's like this very little twist, like everything else about them is normal and just like ordinary, except there's this other thing where there's this compulsion to save things and this belief that it's necessary, and always this belief of like, oh, well, if I just get a little spare time, I'm going to go through all those old newspapers. Or, you know, I've seen this up close, and it's disturbing to me, but it got a lot less disturbing when I learned about it. And I'm sure you've learned about it, but it's affecting you personally, so it's clouding your vision right now. But I don't think she's doing this to you on purpose. And I don't think she's failing to deal with organizing drawers and stuff just to mess with you. And I also think, and I don't mean to pick on you, Carl, but just because you wrote about like, how do you get out of this? I just want to say that you cutting your finger on the slicer that was under the silverware tray, that sucks, but it was an accident. It was an accident. And her putting it under there, it's just, she didn't do it to you. It's really not her fault, okay? It's just really not her fault. These things happen. And I don't know if you guys have kids, but when you have kids, this kind of thing happens all the time. It happens all the time, and you don't blame kids. Now, your wife is not a child, and she can be held to a higher standard than a little kid, but she has rheumatoid arthritis. And here's the other thing we know, because you shared with us, she had an alcoholic father. She went through some really hard stuff, okay? I had an alcoholic parent, and I'm here to tell you, that's enough to give a person CPTSD. CPTSD makes people very vulnerable to depression, anxiety, stress, dark thoughts of suicide, a sense of disorganization, and that big mess and that accumulation of mess, that is a PTSD thing in some people, and it's a depression thing. So you're seeing like the expression of pain that she has and stuff that she doesn't have under control. So here's what I'm going to suggest to you. If you were to think of her as a fellow friend here in the Crappy Childhood Fairy community who has CPTSD and who struggles to stay organized and who struggles to follow through and do tasks on a schedule as planned and just keeps procrastinating, I think if it weren't your wife and it didn't affect your living space as much, you would see the helplessness of it. So what do we do for helpless people? What do we want from people when we're helpless? It does really help to have compassion for them. And I just want you to trust that having compassion and caring about another person under this kind of stress and behaving this way, probably there's a lot of shame. Adding to their shame only makes it worse. And it's hard not to. I totally understand. And honestly, what my parallel experience is for this most directly is being with an addict. Being with an addict. It is so easy to think, you know, if they just loved me, they would stop, they would go to treatment. Well, people with serious addictions can't always muster the will to do that or the desire to do that. And even if they have the will and the desire, they can't do it half the time. And nobody knows why. But I do know this. I can't make them do it. And me pressuring and badgering makes it worse for them, makes them feel even worse about themselves. And people who feel badly about themselves, their worst behavior comes out. So if you possibly can, I would consider just giving her grace, just giving her a spell of grace where it's like, I know you can't deal with this stuff, honey. I'm going to try to fill in. And Carl, I know you had other plans for your life than being a full-time caretaker to somebody who's in a lot of pain, who needs a lot of care, who makes a big mess and won't let you throw things out. But such is life and such are relationships, and that's what it's like. And I have found it's possible to find a very deep joy and deep love under any circumstances at all. I've watched people do it when they were in the process of dying. I've found joy myself when I was stuck in a hospital bed for a month, very hopeless that I was going to get better. I found joy in the worst times in a year when more than half my family died, and I thought I couldn't get through it. It ended up being one of the most exciting years of my life because, you know why? Because I found the daily practice. I found a way to get free of my fear and resentment. And I had a way to process all that sadness and all that, resentment at getting your freedom taken away, at getting your plans taken away. You probably had a lot of fun things you wanted to do, and now it's kind of messed up. But you feeling less fearful or resentful about it will leave you feeling more practical and level-headed and able to enjoy the moments that can be enjoyed. And that's absolutely what I recommend to you. You can do this. Your community here at Crappy Childhood is here to help you, and the daily practice, which I am really recommending today. If trusting your heart is telling you that everything's terrible, let a new piece of information in. This is why we do the daily practice. We keep friends around. We keep supportive people around. I don't know, I think you're a member, right? I think you are a member. If you're a member of Crappy Childhood Fairy, we have this like secret Facebook group, and there's 500 people in there, and they're friends and they are buddies. They read their fears and resentments to each other. They share difficulties. They share victories with each other. This is a really positive way to kind of help yourself stay sustainable, stay consistent with your efforts to heal. I know you know what to do, but it is hard to keep up with it every day. Being around a depressed person, I wouldn't be surprised if sometimes you feel depressed. But I want you to just take back your joy here and take back your autonomy. And if you've chosen to stay in your marriage and help her deal with this, and it sounds like you have, and I'm proud of you for that, then just get the most joy you can and allow yourself to be of service and get free of the fear and resentment that this is some sort of old thing with your mom. See, your mom treating you like room service, that was wrong. That was wrong. You don't do that to a kid. But when you have a debilitating illness, you do get to ask your spouse for help. So it's different, and it sounds to me a little bit like the pain of the past is kind of leaking into the present and making it hard for you to face and handle this incredible level of responsibility in the best way that you possibly could. It's not your fault that you were abused and neglected as a kid or that your perception was messed with like this, but the person who's going to set this right now, and the only person who can set it right, is you. You can do this. And if you want help recognizing the self-defeating behaviors, I'm recommending you watch this video right here. This is going to cover 16 of them. You don't have all of them, but you might have some. And remember, if you're not subscribed to this channel, it really helps me. You can do that by clicking this button right here. And I'll see you very soon.